We've reached the end of our journey. Together, we have walked the path from the most basic fundamentals of the MACD to its elite tactics and its very DNA. If you've followed this series, you no longer see the MACD as simple lines on a chart. You see a story of trend, momentum, and power. But today, in our final chapter, we are going to transcend. We're going to do something radical. We're going to forget about trading for a moment. We're going to analyze the MACD from three completely different perspectives: that of a digital signal engineer, a skeptical quantitative analyst, and finally, a psychologist of mass behavior. This is the conclusion that will allow you to understand not only how the MACD works, but why it works on a much deeper, almost metaphysical level. And in the end, you will understand what the true goal of a master analyst really is. Buckle up one last time because we're about to connect all of the dots. Gerald Apple was trained as an engineer, and he didn't create a magic indicator. He designed a filter. To understand this, imagine the price series of an asset as a raw audio signal. This audio signal contains everything: the high-frequency noise, the minute-to-minute fluctuations, the mid-frequency melody, the trends we can trade, and the low-frequency hum, the long-term secular trend. It's chaos. As we've seen, an exponential moving average is a low-pass filter. It smooths the signal, removing the high-frequency noise. The 26 EMA is a stronger filter than the 12 EMA. It lets only the lowest, slowest frequencies pass through. Here is the engineering stroke of genius. When you subtract the 26 EMA from the 12 EMA, you are performing a fundamental operation in signal processing. You are creating a bandpass filter. You are subtracting a heavily filtered signal from a lightly filtered signal. The result? You isolate a specific band of frequencies. You're removing both the very high frequency noise, the intraday chaos, and the very low frequency trend, the background hum. What's left is, theoretically, the melody of the market, the tradable trend, the momentum. The MACD is a mathematical attempt to isolate the juiciest part of the price's frequency spectrum. This is why it fails in sideways markets. In those markets, there is no dominant melody or frequency to isolate. There is only white noise. Now, let's put ourselves in the shoes of a quant, a quantitative analyst at a major hedge fund. A quant would rarely use the MACD in a traditional way. Why? Because from a rigorous statistical perspective, the MACD commits several cardinal sins. First, non-stationarity. Technical indicators implicitly assume that history repeats itself, but price series are notoriously non-stationary. Their statistical properties, like their mean and variance, constantly change over time. A MACD crossover during the dot-com bubble in 1999 does not have the same statistical meaning as a crossover today. To a quant, this is unacceptable. Second, alpha decay. Alpha is the term for performance that beats the market. Any simple, publicly known strategy like buy the MACD Golden Cross suffers from alpha decay. As more and more people use it, its effectiveness diminishes until it becomes statistically useless or even negative after accounting for transaction costs. Third, lack of rigorous backtesting. A discretionary trader sees a pattern that works. A quant tests it on millions of data points, adjusting for all sorts of biases. A rigorous backtest of a simple MACD strategy often shows mediocre to poor long-term results without extremely robust filters. To a quant, the MACD isn't a source of alpha, but a generic momentum factor that is already known to the market. So, if it's a mathematical filter and statistically suspect, why on earth does it still work? Why has it endured for nearly 50 years? The answer is the final revelation. Because the MACD is not a tool for analyzing prices, it is a tool for analyzing other traders. The MACD is a proxy, a visual representation of the mass cycle of greed and fear. When the histogram crosses from 0 to positive and starts to grow, that is optimism turning into excitement. When the histogram peaks and people feel FOMO, that is euphoria. When you see a bearish divergence and the histogram starts to shrink, that is the smart money selling to the euphoric crowd. Anxiety begins. When the lines cross to the downside, that is denial. When the MACD crosses below 0, fear takes hold. When the histogram reaches its deepest valley, that is panic and capitulation. The last sellers throw in the towel. And when the histogram starts to rise back towards 0, that is the smart money quietly accumulating from those who capitulated. Hope returns. The MACD works, when it works, not because the planets align or because its math is perfect. It works because enough traders and algorithms are looking at it and reacting to its signals, creating a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's a mirror in a room full of people who are all looking at the same mirror. And this brings us to the ultimate conclusion of our entire series. After this whole journey, you realize that the goal was never to become an expert on the MACD. The goal was to use the MACD to understand the market on such a deep level that the indicator becomes what it truly is: a simple, elegant, and yet profoundly flawed probing tool. A novice asks, has the MACD crossed up? An expert, after this series, asks, why is the MACD crossing up? Is it due to genuine acceleration confirmed by volume in the context of a bullish master trend and bouncing off a key support level? Or is it just a mathematical artifact in the middle of a noisy, sideways market? The real knowledge isn't in the signal, it's in interpreting the context that generates that signal. The MACD doesn't give you the truth. It gives you a sophisticated perspective on momentum, forcing you to ask the right questions. And in the markets, asking the right question is infinitely more important than getting an easy answer. We have come full circle. From Gerald Appel's creation to its quantum deconstruction, you now possess a 360-degree view of this legendary tool. This has been an incredible journey, and if you've made it this far, I congratulate you. To celebrate the end of this saga, I ask for one last favor. Give this final video a big like in recognition of the path we've traveled. Subscribe, because even though the series is ending, our journey through market knowledge is just beginning. And, of course, go to the comments and tell me, what was the single most important lesson you're taking away from this 6-video series? What one idea changed your perspective forever? We are Money Talks US. It has been a true honor and a privilege to be your guide on this deep exploration. Thank you for your attention, your curiosity, and your commitment. I'll see you in the next adventure, price action.